Today I will be looking at So I Married an Axe Murderer, directed by Thomas Schlam and starring Michael Myers and Nancy Travis, through a feminist as well as historical lens. The film is set in 1990 San Francisco and centers around Charlie Mackenzie, a beat poet with commitment issues who recently broke up with his girlfriend under suspicions that she stole his cat. While purchasing haggis for his Scottish parents, he falls in love with the butcher Harriet Michaels. However, as they date and get to know each other, Charlie begins to suspect Harriet is the elusive Mrs. X, a serial killer involved in a string of husband murders. He asks his friend Tony, a police officer, to investigate, who discovers that the wives disappeared along with the husbands. However, still on edge, they go on a few dates, and Charlie decides to break up with Harriet. However, suddenly someone turns himself in for the murders. Charlie tries to win Harriet back by serenading her with a beat poem, and they make up. While at his parents' wedding anniversary, Charlie proposes to Harriet, who accepts after some hesitation. They depart to a secluded hotel in the mountains for their honeymoon, when suddenly Tony discovers the confessed killer is a compulsive liar and rushes to inform Charlie. Having been thrown into a panic, Charlie manages to lock Harriet in a closet, but he suddenly stumbles upon a puzzling note supposedly written by him explaining that he will be abandoning Harriet. Bewildered, it is not long before Rose, Harriet's sister, appears wielding an axe and reveals herself as Mrs. X, a brother-in-law killer, who is jealous that her sister is being stolen from her. After a thrilling chase up onto the hotel rooftop, Rose is detained, and Charlie and Harriet live happily ever after. Harriet, played by Nancy Travis, is a rare case of a female character who is eccentric but not objectified because of it. She could have easily fallen into the trap of the manic pixie dream girl, but the film tackles it with grace. This term was first coined in 2007 by Nathan Rabin, who describes it as an archetype that taps into a particular male fantasy of being saved from depression and ennui by a fantasy woman who sweeps in like a glittery breeze to save you from yourself, then disappears once her work is done. However, this free-spirited archetype has existed long before as well, such as in the 1960s Shirley MacLaine's Fran Kubelik in The Apartment and Audrey Hepburn's Holly Golightly in Breakfast at Tiffany's. What I love is that Harriet is not eccentric to be desirable to the audience, but rather to strike fear and uncertainty, to confirm the audience and Charlie's fears that she is the axe murderer. Her work as a butcher, extensive knowledge of martial arts, propensity to scream Ralph in her sleep, and her unwillingness to open up about the period of her life in which she lived in Atlantic City are all aimed to weird the audience out. She's also not there to fix Charlie. Not just him, but both of them have familiar relationships with the fear of commitment, with Charlie paranoid of every one of his previous girlfriends, and Harriet having suffered wounds from being deceived into thinking all her previous husbands abandoned her on their honeymoons. Through a historical lens, watching So I Married an Axe Murderer in 2022 is like mainlining 1993. The soundtrack features many core 1993 artists, such as the Boo Radleys, Toad the Wet Sprocket, Soul Asylum, Big Audio Dynamites, Suede, and The Laws, with their iconic There She Goes, widely regarded as the quintessential 1990s rom-com anthem. Another core part of Charlie's character is slam poetry, which originated in the 1980s and really swelled in popularity in the 1990s. It is used to convey Charlie's feelings regarding women on numerous occasions, such as when explaining why he and his first girlfriend split, when wooing Harriet, and when describing her marvelousness. On top of this, the movie employs many 90s star actors and comedians in cameos as minor characters, such as stand-up comedian Stephen Wright, Amanda Plummer as Harriet's sister Rose, and Alan Arkin as Anthony LaPaglia's police chief boss. As put by film critic Nathan Rabin, need a virtuoso for the scene-stealing role of an Alcatraz tour guide who is way too invested in the grimy details of prison life, particularly the parts involving shivs and vicious beatdowns? Great, because Phil Hartman is up for the role. Require a deadpan specialist for the tiny, insignificant role of a driver who has his car commandeered and is none too happy about it? Charles Grodin is inexplicably down to shoot for about 8 hours. My favorite scene composition-wise is probably the opening scene, which begins with a montage of San Francisco at night while There She Goes is covered by the Boo Radleys. Though the original song is about heroin, in this context it is implied to be referring to love, which can be likened to a drug. The rest is shot from the POV of a coffee cup navigating through a beat poetry cafe. Its journey consists of being collected, cleaned, refilled, and brought to the next customer, Charlie, who immediately makes an impact upon the audience with his shameless humor. Overall, I enjoyed So I Married an Axe Murderer for its situational comedy, witty banter, three-dimensional characters, especially the women, that I could root for, and catchy soundtrack. I would recommend this movie to a friend looking for some lighthearted fun that does not take itself too seriously. Thank you.